4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Unimaginary Friendcast. This is a conversation with your best friends. We have not been live in many months, so we are here live, ready to chat all of our live listeners up. So hello and welcome. We are your beautiful hosts for this podcast.
I am Nathan Von Edmondson.
I'm Erin Marie Betty Davis Jr.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And I'm already forgetting what I'm supposed to do. And I'm Aaron Von Nathan Von Edmondson, DavidMunster.com Jr.
All right. So we haven't been live for a while. We haven't even done a podcast in a month or so. And we've just been kind of waiting for something that sparks all of our interest that we want to gather together. And that thing happened. A big breaking news story happened, one in which David has a very personal connection to. So we are going to dive into that, which is none other than the Danny Masterson rape trial, which he was just sentenced to 30 years in prison.
You seem a little bit too happy and upbeat.
I'm just trying to be the perfect hostess for all of my beautiful live listeners.
You are the perfect hostess. You are the perfect hostess. Sorry, go ahead.
So we're going to, and David knows some of the women that were affected by this whole situation. So, and had a personal conversation. So we get to hear all the inside scoop. But first, since we haven't seen each other in a while, what is going on with you guys?
Let's just do it really fast. I wanted to talk about what a piece of shit Tom Cruise is, but one of the members of this podcast doesn't like that. So I'm just going to give my news really fast. I was wrong about Taylor Swift. I heard this whole report on Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is actually a really good person. I still not that into her music, but whenever she goes to a town, she donates like $500,000 to local food banks. She tips out her staff to the tune of like $50 million. She fights against this. She fights against that. Anyway, she's a good person, and I was wrong. So I just wanted to say that I was wrong. When I'm wrong, and I let you know. And there you go.
I finally, along those lines, I finally heard a song of hers that I thought was good, like genuinely good, and not just like fun that I could bop to. Like, so,
I'm just happy to hear that both of you are finally catching up to the reality that Taylor Swift is the shit.
Can you sing a little bit of a Swift song, Nathan?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Who's next?
Shake it off. Is that good?
I'll go next. I have I've been thinking a little bit about altering genes and how that technology exists or will be propagating into the future. And I have one request. I would like my genes to be altered so that a comfortable range of temperature was wider. So instead of like 3 degrees of this feels really comfortable, I want it to be like 60 degrees, feel really comfortable.
Like 60 degrees from what, like 70?
Like from 50 degrees to 120 degrees should be comfortable.
50? I feel like...
I think freezing. I want to go to freezing up to like...
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I agree. I want that too.
Below freezing, you need like a light jacket.
I want that too.
Yeah. Someone else on our live audience here likes Taylor Swift.
Aunt Josie is back. Taylor Swift rules, she says. Yeah. All right. All right, Aaron, go ahead. Aaron.
The biggest thing in my life for quite a while now, at least the last month, has been producing a live Halloween event. And it opens on Friday, and it's been all consuming every day, all night kind of thing. So, I'm just getting everything up and running so that we can entertain the masses starting on Friday.
What year is this for you?
13.
13 years?
Mm-hmm.
You started when you were 14 years old?
Yeah, exactly.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I feel horrible about... Oh.
Ooh, I like your window diffuser.
For those listening, the window diffuser keeps on falling on David's head.
We have high production values here. I feel weird about doing this, but this is kind of it's awkward, but we're giving out our gold stars,
Mhm.
which we're giving out our gold stars not because of what happened to them, because of how courageous and how they stood up. And for 21 years, they fought to get justice and finally received it. The Jane Does of the Danny Masterson ordeal, the rape.
They've actually been trying to press charges for 21 years.
Yeah, it happened. The occurrences happened in like 2001, 2003.
Yeah. Have they been
So it's-
actively trying to?
Well, first they went to their church. We'll get into that. First they went to their church, and the Church of Scientology was like, "Yeah, what did you guys do to pull it in?" We'll talk about all that. We'll get to that. But the Jane Does, yeah.
All right, two of them,
like,
right?
Do I say congratulations?
Sure, they earned it from their courageous efforts.
From your courageous efforts.
From the courageous efforts. I know this is it's a very touchy subject.
Well, let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it. I do want to say, though, if you tuned in wanting the whys, wherefores, all the details of the trials and the rapes and how horrible Ashton Kutcher is and behind the scenes, this is what you do. You find Aaron Smith-Levin in Growing Up Scientology. He does an amazing podcast where he talks about it. He interviews everybody. Yashar Ali is a reporter that they've done the background and everything. Tony Ortega does some good stuff. There are other people like that who do amazing work finding out details and putting together everything. I'm going to be talking about some of that, but mostly one of the Jane Does I know personally. And I knew Danny Masterson, and I knew a lot of the enablers and supporters. So we're going to be talking about what kind of a person these people were and how Scientology created this haven for predators. That's what this is about. If you want to hear about that and my insight and the things I saw with my own eyes. Okay. So are you guys interested in that? Are we still in?
I have to just say,
Nathan's on the fence. He's not sure.
Let's do it.
If and when I step away, it is to attend to a child that is crying, and it is not because I'm not interested in what's going on.
Did you guys have another baby? Like, how many babies do you guys have over there?
Our house is like filling up. There's like layers on top of layers of babies.
I'm trying to not just talk about having babies, but I realize that we're in a phase of life where that it's an all-consuming reality, and that's really all I have to talk about anymore. So any commentary I have is going to be relating this to being a parent and having babies.
Okay, cool. All right.
Starting with sleep deprivation.
Well, okay. Anyway, so the first thing we have to understand, because people are like, how could this happen? What's a cult like? What's going on? What's happening? The best way for you guys out there to understand this is to realize that the Church of Scientology and its followers are very much like MAGA people. They're very much like Trump followers in that facts don't mean anything to them. They believe in the church and they believe what Hubbard says. And if you hit them with facts, they just brush you away like you're stupid. So you kind of have to remember that. Does that make sense to everybody out there?
That really makes sense.
And in this, the church is using it. Instead of saying that one of our members raped women and is now in jail because of it, they're rallying their members saying, we're being attacked. This didn't happen. This is a lie. The court system, and because they always use the government, whenever the government puts sanctions or penalizes Scientology in any way, they're like, it's an attack. They want to stop us because we're the only ones with the truth. So they're using this to raise money, just like Trump people do. They're like, this is an attack. He didn't rape anybody. We never do anything wrong. This is an attack, and it's the government and all these entities and psychiatry. So they're raising a bunch of money because of it, because their stupid members are stupid and they go along with whatever it is.
Very Trumpy.
It's very
how Trump is. He'll put out a fundraising email every time that he gets another indictment, and people are just helping to pay for his court costs, which is crazy because he's supposedly a billionaire. But
totally,
he's a billionaire.
Billionaire, yeah. Well, he said he's a billionaire. And remember that whenever you think like, how could that possibly happen? Just remember the interviews you've seen of Trump people where they're like, well, what about this? And they're like, well, Biden's not president. Like, Biden's on the moon. Like, that's the mentality you have to think with. That's the way Scientologists are. First thing we're going to talk about, Jane Doe number 1, the one I know personally. I know 2 of them personally, but this is the one I know that I was friends with. Who is Jane Doe number 1?
2 of them? There's more than 2?
There's a bunch of them, but there's a bunch of them actually. How do I put this? There are more coming out as we speak. So over the next however long, we're going to hear about more. There are a couple more that I know, but we don't know anything about it. They've come out. I've heard that they've come out. I have not talked to them. I don't know anything about it. So there are more, but there are 2 that I know that were in this court case.
Okay. And when you say there are more, are they related directly to Danny Masterson?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Sorry to sidetrack you.
But also, I'm glad that you said that, because there's a bunch of people coming out against Church Scientology that, you know, like, I was a kid and I was molested here, not having to do with any other things, because they have a history of hiding this stuff and making the victims the perpetrators. They're making the victims the problems. So who's Jane Doe number 1? Jane Doe number 1 was my friend, is my friend. I consider her my friend. We've been talking recently. She's sweet, funny at the time, kind of naive. She's sophisticated, but kind of naive and kind of prudish. She was a good person, basically, you know, as we all are. And I say basically only because we're not perfect, and she knows she's not perfect. And that is one of the things that sets her aside from Scientologists and Scientologists, because they present themselves as being perfect. Like, we're ethics, you know, like personified and stuff. She was also strong and smart, and she was not interested in Danny Masterson. She rebuffed Danny Masterson. She didn't want to have anything to do with Danny Masterson, but we were all friends with friends of his. We were all good friends of his friends, so he was always there. I believe, and she can say that I'm wrong, but I believe it's because she was smart and strong and always, what's the word? She was always sweet and welcoming and positive. Like, that's the one thing that separated her from the rest of this group. Whenever I'd see her, it was always a positive interaction. We weren't, there was never any subtext with everyone else in Scientology, except for maybe a couple other people. All the other people, the Danny Mastersons, his inner core, like, another person who was a really good friend of ours is Danny Masterson's personal assistant, a woman named Bree Schaefer. There were always problems. There was always, like, I would see her at parties, and sometimes she'd be like, hey, and give me a hug. And sometimes I'd be like, hey, Bree, how's it going? She'd be like, keep it down. Like, I'm going through something right now. Like, literally, she would do shit like that. And that's the way these people are, and you would get used to that. Jane Doe number 1 was not like that. And I believe that's why he targeted her, because it was a concerted effort. It wasn't just a one-night fluke. It looks like he targeted her. Like, he was going to take her down somehow. That's what it looked like. And if she ever comes forth, she can tell you the mores and the whys and the wherefores of that, because that's her story. But that's what I saw. She was friends with everybody that I knew in the group. Everybody really liked her. We all went to her wedding, including Danny Masterson and all the people that supported Danny Masterson. Ashton, Kutcher, and Mila Kunis did not go to her wedding, but all the other people that wrote letters against her, that wrote letters of support for Danny Masterson, we were at her wedding. We hung out with her.
Would that have been after the incident?
No, it was before, before the incident. Well, she was married and then she got divorced.
Okay.
She would have, her parents had this beautiful home. We would go to barbecues and get-togethers. She had this amazing get-together at her house for Christmas where they had snow in the front yard when you walked up, and carolers, and it was just absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to tell this story because it kind of paints a picture of the rest of the people in our group. I came and I brought flowers for her and her mother. Because I'd never met her mother before, but I met her. I was invited to her house for this beautiful Christmas thing. Is that unusual at all?
To bring flowers?
Yeah.
I would say it's thoughtful, and most people wouldn't be that thoughtful is my guess, actually. I don't think it's unusual, but I would guess that. Yeah.
Wow, we have someone here from Clearwater, Netherlands, Trev Anon. Ooh, I'm not sure what Clearwater, Netherlands. I know Clearwater is the land base of Scientology in Florida, but I don't know what Netherlands means. Maybe he's from the Netherlands and he's visiting Clearwater. Anyways, so I brought flowers.
Is it the equivalent in Netherlands of Clearwater, Florida? Maybe Trev can let us know.
If it is, I've never heard of something like that. Maybe he can tell us. Anyway, so I bring flowers to her and her mother. Her mother stops what she's doing. She's the hostess of this party. There's hundreds of people there at her house, this big, beautiful house. She stops what she's doing. She comes over and she's like, oh my God, thank you so much. And Jen, they were like, thank you so much. And the mother's like, she kind of held up the flowers and she's like, this is what people do. Like, this is polite. She said something like that because none of the other people brought anything. Like, that is Scientology. Those are these people that I'm painting this picture of. Jane Doe #1 was friends with Juliette Lewis and babysat her stepdaughter at the time. And Juliette Lewis dropped her and turned on her when the church told her to. Jane Doe #1 was good friends with Lisa Marie Presley, Marissa Ribisi, and Vonnie Ribisi, who both wrote letters against her. And
I had a question real quick about the letters that you're referencing. So
okay.
The letters that they wrote, you're saying that they wrote them against her? Were they?
Well, they wrote in support of Danny Masterson.
Yeah, so letters in support of Danny Masterson, like character letters or something?
Yes, and they're all online now.
They weren't letters like talking crap about Jane Doe #1. They were just about Danny Masterson.
Well, you would think, but read them on they're all online right now, all of them. There's like 50 letters. They are painting this picture of Danny Masterson that they think makes him look like a savior and just a wonderful guy. It kind of makes him look like a cult leader and a sociopath a little bit, because he's perfect in these letters. He's the perfect person. But in every single letter, they talk about and he was anti-drugs. He never used drugs. He was so anti-drugs, he would get violent. Some people said he would get violent against the use of drugs. He drugged these women. They're all writing that to undermine the Jane Does. These 50 people who knew the Jane Does. That's what I want to impart on you people, is they were friends with and knew these Jane Does, but the Church of Scientology stood behind Danny Masterson because the Church of Scientology sucks the dick of celebrity. The Church of Scientology desperately wants celebrity around them. And Danny Masterson, that's what we're going to get to next. Who was Danny Masterson? What was Danny Masterson like? Danny Masterson thought of himself, I feel like, as like the Frank Sinatra of Scientology. You know, like the chairman of the board with all his cats and dudes around him. In fact, he would talk like that. He'd be like, bro, and like, what's up? And like, coming at you. Like, just, I can't even think of the stupid slang he used to use, but he was like that guy. He's a stupid white kid. You know, like he's a stupid, skinny white kid, but he'd be like, you know, like, hey, well, super charming.
What do you know how he made his way into Scientology? Did he grow up in his family, or did he join at a certain point in his life?
No, he was born into it. His parents were already Scientologists and they got him in. And he's from the East Coast somewhere. Like I said, the Aaron Smith-Levins and everybody, they all know better. He identified with New York and he would talk about New York all the time. I knew Danny Masterson. I was around him a bunch. He had a sort of personality cult going around him. And Scientology was so bizarre. Like, okay, he's Danny Masterson. He's on a sitcom. That's great. He's not Elvis Presley. He's not Marlon Brando. I always thought, like, what is the big deal? Because they would talk about him like he was the be all, like all of these little celebrities. Like he's not even, like, I can understand people, as much as I don't like Tom Cruise, at the time you can kind of understand people being sort of in awe of Tom Cruise, or like, oh wow, that's Tom Cruise. they would treat Danny Masterson the same way. This sitcom celebrity.
That doesn't surprise me really at all. It's funny when you talk about these events, these Scientology events, like some of them are some of these get-togethers, are some of them official, organized by Scientology, also some of them are like private hangouts, I guess.
All of the above, yeah.
Okay.
And he was through Celebrity Center. Okay, so Trev Anon says that Clearwater, Netherlands is an SPTV joke. I'm sorry, Trev. I haven't watched a lot of SPTV. SPTV is what they call like the Aaron Smith-Levins and all the people that are doing podcasts about Scientology. Leah Remini.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to know more about all this stuff, Leah Remini and Mike Rinder do amazing behind the scenes on this and stuff. There is no city Clearwater in the Netherlands. Thank you, Trev Anon.
Yeah,
Thank you.
My thought space was that there's probably a Scientology center in the Netherlands.
I don't know about that.
I don't know the joke, obviously. But my one thing I want to say about the celebrity worship, it seems very like my comparison when you talk about Scientology is I grew up in a church, like a Christian church, Presbyterian, so it was not Catholic. And it's, you had church on Sunday and then there would be events, every once in a while there'd be like a dinner or something, So it's so different than Scientology because there's not that ongoing coursework that you're kind of go through. But
yeah,
where everyone's kind of hanging on and talking about these celebrities, it reminds me of just like kind of Hollywood stuff anyway, or LA kind of stuff. Like,
but
the example popped into my head, like why would they make a big deal of someone who's on just a sitcom? One, it was like one of the biggest sitcoms at the time, if not the biggest, is my guess. It was super successful. That 70 show was super successful. But
it was. I never really saw it. But,
I never really watched it, but it was on for a few years and it was a popular show. But I remember I was in an acting class when we were out in LA, and the teacher, one of his students had a small part on Game of Thrones. So he was kind of a, that was a big show at the time. And he had done some other work, but nothing like, he wasn't a household name. He wasn't, a celebrity that anyone would know. But that didn't mean that the instructor didn't lean into and onto and talk this kid up constantly. It gave credibility to his acting class that he had this person as a student, and they would come in and talk about stuff. So I feel like that's just kind of typical, regardless of the caliber, like they're just gonna.
But that's like if you're in Pennsylvania or Ohio or something like that. Yeah, Danny Masterson might be a thing, but like when you're hanging out in Hollywood and you go to parties, you'll go to a party. Danny Masterson isn't even like fifth tier. You know what I mean? Like, Jack Nicholson is there, or Alec Baldwin or something like that. Like these people who are actually household names. So it's just that's my only point is that, like, sure, Danny Masterson, it's great that you're on a series, but you're not even the most famous person in the room. Like, you know what I mean? That was my point, is that they would just treat him like he was just a god among men, and it was just like, calm down. And so Trevanon says they do have an org in Amsterdam, and he lets us know that they call their churches orgs. I know, I hate to say this, but I was unfortunately a Scientologist for a bit of time, so I do know that. Anyway, so let's go on. What was he like? Danny Masterson was so charming with the big greetings and the hugs. And I told you for a while, he and his friends went through kissing. So one time he like kissed me on the mouth at a party. And I was just like, what is this? Like, it felt like a work. It felt like something was going on. And I kind of think I know what it was now. I think it was a work. I think he was trying to get me to, anyways, let's not speculate on that. We already know the horrible things he did. But he was one of those people that, you meet that's so charming. You're like, what's going on with this guy? Like, he's full of himself type of thing. And he always had hangers on. He always had an entourage of sycophants around him that would always be like yes men. Always. Like, he wouldn't go anywhere without his people, his enablers. People like his his personal assistant Bree Schaefer, who Jane Doe and I were really good friends with. And I found this is one thing that I have that no other SPTV person, that Aaron Smith-Levin, Leah Remini, none of these people have. I have the official Hindenburg High class of 2000 yearbook. Bree Schaefer threw a prom that we were all at. And Danny, well, wait, hold on. No, it's not fun. It's going to be a bad thing. I know you're preoccupied with your children. Danny Masterson was DJ Donkey Punch at this event. He was the DJ. He was the rapist DJ at the event. I don't think he raped anyone at the event, but in the coming years, we would find out he raped other people. And here, hold on. I marked some of the pages. Where is it? Sorry, I'm a little bit, because Danny Masterson's in here and Bree Schaefer is in here. Here's Danny Masterson in the yearbook. They took one of his kid pictures in it. Can you see it?
Oh yeah, he had a mullet
as a little kid. And here's Bree Schaefer, so the thing is when I was talking to, here's Bree Schaefer down here. Can you see her there?
Yep, editor.
She was the one who put the party together. And it's funny because she was really good friends with the Jane Doe that I knew. And
Aaron,
talking to her, I'm going to be
time for us, and it's just a mess.
I know. I'm going to be talking like I don't even know you're there. She talking to Jane Doe, Bree Schaefer. When you know about the whole trial, and Aaron Smith-Levin lays it out too. Bree Schaefer was an enabler, and Bree Schaefer knew what happened. Bree Schaefer knew about at least one of the sexual assaults. And I always thought, like, oh, maybe Bree, like, because she put this, like, she would put these like prom parties together, and she would do these things that were really creative and fun, but she was always on the side of the Church of Scientology and on the side of Danny Masterson. And Danny Masterson would have these times that I think they called it like the dark side or something like what he would drink. Danny Masterson would always drink. Any event that was going on, Danny Masterson and all his friends would always drink, and he'd get really drunk and he'd get belligerent and antagonistic and stuff. And what was I going to say? So I kind of had this idea of like, poor Bree's my friend. But in talking to the Jane Doe number one, I kind of had like, when you know horrible people, you know a side of them that is your friend. You know what I mean? And you kind of have a hard time separating out. So I kind of understand how all these people, let me lay it on the line. Bree Schaefer knew what happened. She was going to help Jane Doe, and then she flipped on Jane Doe and supported Danny Masterson for this last 20 years. So at the time she knew, and she was going to do something. And so for the last 20 years, she's been enabling Danny Masterson. She was his personal assistant. She made $15 an hour. Then when this happened, all of a sudden she had a house in Beechwood Canyon. And Danny Masterson bought one of her screenplays. She was a struggling writer, bought one of her screenplays and was going to produce it into a film. All of a sudden, after this happened, she went to him to confront him about this, and then she was his supporter. Bam. I don't know what happened. And you know Beechwood Canyon, right, Nathan? Beechwood Canyon is a very expensive. No. Oh, Beechwood Canyon is in the Hollywood Hills, and it's a very expensive area.
Okay.
So we're assuming that $13 an hour or $15 an hour, how much she made from Danny Masterson, is not going to buy her a house. All of a sudden, she had a house.
That's convenient.
Yeah, exactly. And she's supporting Danny Masterson. But during these trials that happened, she was not there. She was not called as a witness. She did not appear when several of Danny Masterson's friends would come and stare and mad dog the Jane Does in the hallways. And then when they were on the stand giving their testimony, they would sit in the audience and stare at them and give them dirty looks and stuff. She was not one of them. But can you imagine? That's another thing that you have to understand about these people. Can you imagine, let's say your friend is accused of rape. And let's say you believe that he's innocent, but in a million years, would he be able to talk you into going to court and giving dirty looks to the victims or the accusers? That's the way. They're just like Donald Trump supporters. They do this shit. I don't care if my best friend, if I knew for a fact that they didn't do it, I would give testimony. I would not look at the accusers. I would not mad dog them. I would not call out. They would call out things to them in the hallways, or if they saw them at restaurants, they would insult them. In a million years, I would not do that kind of thing, because that's the way these people are in a cult. They will do what the cult tells them to do. Trevanon says, I love the t-shirt, by the way. Were you part of the anonymous 2009 protests? It was what got me into the line of activism against cult. I was not part of Anonymous per se. Let's just say that. Wink, wink. I did have information that I gave to certain people that helped them. And I will always give whatever information I have against the cult. Let's just say that, if that helps anyone. All right, so let's continue on. And in talking to Jane Doe, wait, let me go back to Danny Masterson for a minute, because you got to get the full picture of what he's like. So he would have people like Luke Watson and these other people, and I can't remember all of them, but he had this group of stupid Scientologists who would hang out with him, and he'd have these parties all the time. He would have parties at his house, and they were always tons of alcohol, just alcohol flowing. Sure, yeah, the idea was that Scientologists are against drugs, but tons of alcohol, kids, underage kids. And when I say kids, I mean like 17 to 20, always there drinking, barfing. Like, his house was a wreck. I remember I had to go there one time to talk to Bree, his assistant, or something the day after. And there was like barf all over the patio. And so it's just like, I think I painted the picture. Anyways, he would have these people like Luke Watson who would do whatever he said whenever he said to do it. And Luke Watson was there the night that one of the Jane Does was attacked.
Who's Luke? Is Luke Watson just a Scientologist, or is there any?
Yeah, he's a guy that was friends with Danny Masterson, that was always around, always is there. I don't know him ever having a job, ever. Oh, and he also was friends with Lisa Marie Presley, so sometimes he'd stay at her house. I don't know what he did for a living, didn't have a job. He would just do whatever these people said to do. He would do whatever Danny Masterson said to do. So Bree Schaefer is Danny Masterson's personal assistant and really close friend. I'm not going to tell that story. That story is told in other things, and I don't know, but let's just say that they protected him when things went down. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. But talking to the Jane Does, it reminded me how Jane Doe and I sat there and we talked about what happened, not only just about her situation being attacked by Danny Masterson, but just other upsets and dramatizations within the group, and how Scientology works. Within the group, Scientology itself makes all of its members report on each other all the time, constantly. So it's kind of like a mix between the Trump organization and the Nazi Germany, because the Church of Scientology is the fatherland. It's the most important thing. So you will get parents reporting to the church on their kids, kids reporting on their parents, best friends, brothers and sisters, all reporting on each other. So there's always turmoil within the membership because they're always trying to please the fatherland, which is the Church of Scientology. So there's always drama. There's always talking behind each other's backs and things like that. So we recounted stories about things that we were told like completely opposite and different things to keep us at opposition. And that's how it worked. So within the Church of Scientology, when you're a member, I don't think you really have any true friends, because you always know that you have to keep secrets, and that you have to it's like Game of Thrones too. Like, you have to keep another person's secret, thinking that they'll keep your secret, but then the secret comes out, so you kind of have to like tell this person one thing and that person another thing. Is that clear? Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's one thing about secrets is I feel like they're just secrets kind of don't exist. You know, you tell someone something in confidence and they're going to tell someone else. But if you're in a culture where it's just, you have to report anything that you hear, if someone's out of line with, what are they called? The ethics. And
yeah,
your ethics are going to go out of line unless you report that person. Like,
yeah.
gosh, it's tattletale central.
But it's funny because it's not only heavy things like, you know, rape and murder. It's things like, did I masturbate? Did I drink, you know, within 24 hours of a course? Did I miss a withhold on somebody? Missing a withhold means, was I talking to Nathan and he reacted in a way that I thought I found out one of his secrets? So like, if you don't even report that, sometimes you get in trouble. It's just a bizarre thing. So it's like, you're always afraid that someone else is going to report your secret. And a lot of times it
reminds me a little bit of confession and Catholicism, but it's spread throughout the community as opposed to just you recounting your sins to the priest and then being absolved with whatever penitence you have to do. It sounds like that is outsourced to everyone as reporting to each other.
Totally.
You know, report on people so we know what their sins are.
And the penalization is if your ethics aren't into a certain extent, like you don't, because they're giving you like everlasting spirituality, and they intimate things like you're going to be able to control the physical universe, and they say it in different ways, but you're going to be able to be successful at all times. And if you don't do these things, they take all that away from you. So people freak out if their ethics aren't in. You know what I mean? Like, so
does that work if you're not doing well, if things aren't going well in your life, it's kind of your fault?
Always. The first thing that happened when these Jane Does came forward is they're like, what did you do to cause this? What did you do? And it wasn't like, what did you do to get raped? It was like, what did you do to cause these bad feelings that you're having right now? Because they didn't want to say rape, because they would have to admit that one of their members raped somebody, which they knew. Because one of the things that came out in court is that Danny Masterson wrote up what happened, especially with the one Jane Doe. He wrote up the violent act that occurred to her, and he said she wanted it. And in the Church of Scientology, they're like, okay, that's great. Yeah, they're like, great, perfect, that's fine. So we'll handle her. So she had to do ethics. She was the one who was wrong. That's why it took. So she did report it right away. And the Church of Scientology says, well, we never stop anyone from reporting to the police, which is a lie. Do not ever believe the Church of Scientology says that, because they not only have policies saying that you can't report to outside authorities, any service you do, any course, any auditing, anything you do before you do, you have to sign this legal document that's pages long. And one of the pages talks about you cannot report this to outside authorities. You cannot report to the police. You have to report to Inside Scientology. So they've had hundreds of these reports in orgs everywhere in Scientology of molestation and sexual attacks and things like that they all push down and suppress. And I knew of one girl a girl who was molested by a man, and he had a high post in one of the organizations. He was kept on there, and she was sent to another country, and she had to do ethics, and she was told, what did you do? Like, why would you pull this in? Why would you try to take down an organization? And she told me about this when she was an adult. And not only that, she actually, let me roll back. She actually didn't tell me about it. She not intimated. She not
Alluded?
intimated it. She alluded to something like that. And someone else told me the story from the man's point of view, saying that she was trying to take it down. And so then I talked to another friend of hers, and I'm like, get her to report it. And she's like, she can't report it because she'll lose her family. And it's like, that is the culture this Jane Doe was in. That when she reported it, and she lost her family and all her friends. She lost everyone she knew. And the thing about it that was so heinous about it, Hooligan Mama, Auntie Josie says, it's also insane. My God, the unfortunate people that believe this ridiculousness. I know it's, you have to also understand that the members of the Church of Scientology are willfully stupid. Just equate it to the Trump supporters. They refute facts. No, they'll just push away facts because they want this everlasting spirituality. They want this everlasting success and everything. So I just want to impress upon you that this is the culture within these Jane Does are in, where they saw that she reported it. Even if they were her friends, they saw that she reported it. She got in trouble. So, which I think is cowardly, but these other people around her, if they wanted to report it, they would have gotten in trouble too. If they wanted to come to her defense, they would have lost their friends and family too, which I think that they're cowards. They should have done anyways, because there were people that knew that it happened. There were people that knew that it happened and didn't do anything and let her take the fall. And this is from my point of view, what's happening is, she's my friend. She and I have never had anything but good between us. We didn't have any of these dramas. And it's one of the reasons why I know that she was a target, is because she didn't get involved in this shit. She didn't cause this shit, and she didn't get involved in it. And I knew her that way. They had, like, the other people we were friends with had to take her down. You know what I mean? Like, she had too much integrity. She would say, she was like me. Like, we'd be like, if we just communicate, like, if you communicate honestly, like, it's going to get all resolved. And we would try to do that with these people, because Scientology, the reason why, and Auntie Josie, I'm glad you brought that up. The reason why Scientology works so well is because it attracts sociopaths and narcissists. It attracts people who want to behave the same way. This is the way Danny Masterson behaves. He is the same. He's punitive, and he demands your respect, but he won't give you any. He's the same as the Church of Scientology. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting.
And this is the way a lot of predators are. And a lot of the people around that help facilitate him are like this. And we had two friends. We had... the reason why I didn't know that any of this happened is because we had, Jane Doe's mother wrote it all up. She was furious, and she wanted Danny Masterson she knew that it happened. She wanted Danny Masterson to be held accountable. So she wrote it all up. Oh, Trevanon says it's not about the beliefs, it's about the abuse, 100%. And Aunt Josie says, Trev, Anon, yes, I agree. People that have been abused, have trauma, have a poor sense of self-belief, this bullshit, and are looking for their people in Scientology and all the fake promises. It's not only that, Aunt Josie and Trevanon, it's that it attracts narcissists and sociopaths who want to behave like this. They want this. Because, Jane Doe's mom wrote it all up, and she sent it in, and she wanted Danny Masterson to be held accountable. So she wrote it to, and my name was in that. We talked about this earlier. My name was in that report. I didn't get a copy. all these other people got a copy, and 2 people that we knew, 2 women who are the same. They're Danny Masterson. They haven't raped anybody, but they're the same. They prey on people, and they want to be the center of their world, and they want to put you down. I was with them one day, and they were constantly, the entire time I was in Scientology, friends were constantly fighting with each other. Constantly, every time one friend would leave the room, and this isn't just these 2 girls, it's this entire group of the Danny Mastersons, the Bree Schaefers, the Luke Watsons. Anytime someone would leave the room, they would get talked about. Like, oh my God, this person did this and this and this and that. Because you have to tell everybody about their ethics. So these 2 girls, I was hanging out with them, and they were like, oh my God, Jane Doe number 1. And by the way, that's not her name. And I know some people are saying her name, but I'm not going to say it until she comes out publicly, because she has family and everything. Jane Doe number 1 is crazy. Like, she's insane. And they point out some of the things that were in this report, because her mother wrote up everything that she had seen plus the attack. And then they're like, don't talk to her anymore. She's awful. She's crazy. And I was like, in my brain, I'm not thinking Jane Doe number 1 is crazy. I'm just thinking, oh God, here we go again. These girls are going to fight with her now. Like, it was going to come around, because these girls would fight with each other. They were best friends, and they would fight with each other. And they would tell me things about each other. Like, their names were Brandy and Paige. Like, Paige would tell me, Brandy's a bitch, and she did this and this. And Paige would tell me, or Brandy would tell me, Paige did this and this and this. She would list out her out ethics and all this stuff. Constantly. It was a constant thing. So I'm hanging out with them, and they're saying, Jane Doe number 1 is crazy. Don't talk to her anymore. And I'm just thinking, oh God, this is it. I can't take it anymore. Next time I see Jane Doe number 1, I'm mad at myself that I didn't reach out to her, but I just thought, this is another upset. They'll be best friends with her next week. So, but I never saw her again, because she decided to report it, and she was ousted by everyone. And soon after, I was out too, because I couldn't take it anymore. That was the last time I saw those 2 girls, or that was one of the last times I saw those 2 girls, and I was done. And I just feel horrible that Jane Doe number 1 had to face all this shit. Like, she literally lost her mother and every single person she knew. So she had to start her life over again. I haven't even gotten to that point. We haven't even talked about that. Like, I don't know where she went, what she did, but they have nothing. Like, she worked in her family's business. She didn't have that anymore. Trevenon says Jane Doe's 2 and 3 are known by their full names. Jane Doe is known only by her first name and initial of the last. Yes, but I also heard that is a pseudonym. Yes, that is true. So the Jane Doe I'm talking about, the other Jane Does, everybody knows their name and who they are. Jane Doe number 1 hasn't fully come out yet, and I want to respect that. Where was I? What do you know so far, Nathan?
So you were saying that Jane Doe 1, she had to kind of take off and take care of herself. So her parents turned on her?
Well, her father, she loved her father. She was close to her father. Unfortunately, during all this time, her father died.
Oh, okay.
And then her mother was her supporter, but said, don't report this to the authorities. I don't want this coming against my religion. And she's like, Mother, I'm treated like, I know I'm paraphrasing all this, but she's like, I'm treated like a victim. I'm not a victim. I'm reporting this. So and plus the way she was treated, Danny Masterson was he had no problems in Scientology, none. He was treated amazingly well. And in fact, in Scientology, you will not be expelled necessarily if you're a rapist or a predator or you've committed this crime. That has never been a cause for expelling someone or calling them an SP. But reporting a rape or an attack has gotten a lot of women expelled and called an SP from Scientology. Does that tell you more about the environment within Scientology?
That sounds like they're just super self-protective of their organization.
Yeah, to the extent of harboring, that's why it is a haven for predators. It's a lot like the Catholic Church. Like they will protect the predator, but not the victim. They will expel the victim. Except it sucks that she was disconnected from. I think in the long run, it does suck. I think in the long run, she's such a strong person that I think it did her good. I think it was the best thing because she has a good life, totally outside of Scientology. She's married and has someone who loves her, and she has friends that love her, and she has a good life.
I have a question for you, David.
Yes,
if you
sir.
don't mind. So just about the letters again that Danny Masterson supporters wrote, and maybe you were going to address this soon.
Yeah, I was going to. Yeah.
Okay. We can wait if you want to wait.
All right, let's do that. So don't forget that. So I just want to say this is an important story to tell because it shows. Because during this 20 years, it wasn't like she was just, waiting around. She was harassed by the church all this 20 years, ever since she reported to the police. She's been insulted by, members. She's had other members call her and tell her she's horrible and that you shouldn't do that and stuff like that. The private investigators have been following her this whole time, going through her trash, videotaping her and stuff. So she has had dark times through this. She has not had an easy time of this. Not only being disconnected from, but being harassed. Like, you're raped, you report it, and then you're harassed for being raped for 20 years.
So has anyone who knows that their trash is getting searched through, has anyone left any like stink bombs or bed bugs or things to try and
oh, I don't
mess
know.
with people who are going through their trash?
That's a good idea. I'll talk to her about that and I'll tell her. That's a very good idea. She should.
If you find out someone's like going through your trash trying to find like shit on you,
yeah,
be a little preemptive. And
yes, you can even do those things like the banks have where like it's blue paint sprays on them.
Explodes in your face. And
you can be like, haha. That's a really good idea. No, but these PIs also they used to be Scientologists, but they won't hire Scientologists anymore because they continually leave the church and then they report back on what they did. So they use outside, and they don't care that much. And some of them leaked valuable information to some of the Jane Does because they'd confront them and they'd be like, they would say who they were and where they were from and stuff because they just don't care. They're just getting their money. Trevenon says Mark Headley was told several times about leaving little notes in the diapers of his children. Oh, in his children's diapers when they were little. Oh, that's funny. That's so gross. Of course they were fake. Oh, that's funny. So anyways, I just want to say this is an important story to tell because these women stuck to it. And I told her, like, it's incredible that you stuck to this for 20 years. And all along the way, I will give you one quote. She said, I said, it's incredible that you stuck with this all along the way and that, being harassed. And she said, I said, were there any times when you're just like, fuck it, I can't do this anymore? And she said, oh my God, yes. And she said, had I known what would have happened all along the way, I might have stopped before or not reported it. And I think that's such an important thing to hear. Because not only was she courageous enough to keep going, but it's like that is what Scientology wants. That is what a cult wants. That is what a predator wants. They want to make it so hard on you that other people don't report it. And she stuck to it and she got justice. Like, this is a huge thing. Can you imagine being raped and then for 20 years harassed? Like,
no,
that's huge. And one of the things that kept her going, which is so heartfelt, is she heard a rumor that it might have happened to someone else. And she said it just pierced her. And she was like, no, I have to. And that's what kept her going, is that to stop it from happening to somebody else. What an amazing person. And I'm so happy that I'm so happy that they got vindicated because this is the first time Scientology has been held accountable at this level. This is the first time. And they've had a lot of these cases that just get smashed and pushed away and not prosecuted. This is the first time. So this is a very important story to tell. And I'm glad we're telling it. And I am so proud of her. And I feel heartsick that, like, I remember back, I just feel heartsick that I had no, like just rage. I can't tell you the amount of rage I feel at these women calling her crazy. And they wouldn't tell me. I was like, let me see the report. Why is she crazy? Let me see the report. Why is she crazy? You can't see it. Like, we're on president's lines. This is another thing Scientologists do. They're proud to be on president's lines at Celebrity Center, because only celebrities are on president's lines at Celebrity Center. So they would tell me, we're on president's lines and you're not. And I'd be like, good, the president is an asshole. Like, the president is this person who helps predators. So that's great that you're on president's lines. But I wish that, because if I would have seen rape or this description of it, I would have been out of there so fast. I would have probably punched these girls in the face, because they're making fun of her too. Like, they know that you could argue that they don't believe it, but I know that they know. I know these girls know that she got raped. She was attacked. And I'm going to get to that. And you're probably thinking, why? Let me just go through really fast, because I'm going to get to that too. Like, why are these people doing this? And Jesse says, monumentally, hopefully more truths emerge. Oh, this is just the tip of the iceberg, honey. Let me get to it really fast. I'm going to go really fast. You wanted to talk about the letters and stuff. This is after trial. 50 people wrote letters. And I knew most of the Scientologists who wrote the letters. We all know about Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis writing the letters. And if you read these letters, they're talking about the second coming of Jesus here. And they're lying, because Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masterson threw alcohol-filled parties on the set of that 70s show. I don't know if Mila Kunis drank, but I went to a couple of these parties on the set of that 70s show, and there's tons of underage people drinking. I knew one person who was on another show at that same lot who was under 21, and she was drinking. And they had the producers of the show, this is what I had heard. I went and saw it there, and I saw it for myself. They had a gambling room, they had a craps table, and they had other things in there, where they had a little casino going on the set. And it's like, this guy is a role model. Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, he's a role model. And he's like my big brother. What the fuck is wrong with these people? I believe, I don't know if have you seen any of the Ashton Kutcher interviews and old stuff that they're pulling up to show what a disgusting scum he was?
Ashton Kutcher? No, I haven't really watched any of it.
They're pulling up these old interviews and stuff where Ashton Kutcher's like 19 and Danny Masterson's like 20 something and Mila Kunis is like 14. And this is even later, like when she's a little bit older, she's turned 18. And they're talking about, like, Danny Masterson said, oh God, she's hot, but she was even hotter when she was 14. Danny Masterson says this. And then Ashton Kutcher's laughing, oh, remember the bet Danny had on me? And she goes, oh my God. Danny Masterson bet Ashton Kutcher that when Mila Kunis was 14 and they had kissing scenes, that Ashton Kutcher would slip her the tongue. And they're laughing. Mila Kunis marries this guy, right? So I want to ask her, like, what is wrong with you? Like, has he normalized this kind of behavior to you? And Aaron Smith-Levin is, because they don't ever apologize. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis don't ever apologize to these women that they know. They know these women. They know Danny Masterson assaulted these women. They know it happened. But guess what? They don't call it rape and they don't think it's rape. They think it's just a guy having fun. They know what happened. So then you saw the backlash. They wrote these letters of support and then they got backlash on the internet and they had to, did you see the apology video?
I saw maybe 5 seconds of an apology video. That's about it.
Okay. The problem with it is they don't apologize to the women that they know. They don't even mention the women that they know. They apologize to all the women everywhere who've ever been attacked. They know these women. And so they still get backlash. They're like, what is the fuck is wrong with you? And Aaron Smith-Levin, you got to go to Growing Up Scientology. He has this amazing video where he talks about it. And I heard this story, but I didn't know it was for public consumption. But Ashton Kutcher hates these girls because them coming forward and reporting it has caused certain venues to shut down and not show that 70s show, and Netflix fired Danny Masterson because of it, because he was a suspected rapist and stuff like that. And then Ashton Kutcher had to fire Danny Masterson. He was one of the producers of The Ranch, that show on Netflix and things. So he hates these women because it's costing him money. That they were raped is costing him money. He's not mad at his friend for raping these women. He's mad at these women for coming forward. And people keep sending him communications on social media going like, why don't you acknowledge these women? You know these women. He will not say their names. He even stepped down. He has some organization that he put together with Demi Moore, who he's married to. He had to step down because they asked him to step down because he won't acknowledge these women, and he still refuses to acknowledge these women. He will step down from his organization rather than acknowledging these women. I want everyone within the sound of my voice to know that Ashton Kutcher knows the women that Danny Masterson raped, and he knows that they were sexually assaulted. He knows it.
I'm going to devil's advocate for a second.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll probably have to apologize like Ashton Kutcher and Mila.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
This is my question, though. I don't know the details of the case of what came out that led to his incrimination. He was found guilty, so the evidence must have been there to find him guilty. But from a friend's perspective, isn't he acting as though, from someone who believes his friend didn't do it, isn't he acting in the way that that person would act?
Would you, as a friend, if you believed your friend did not rape somebody, would you write a letter praising him and saying, and if he was accused of drugging women, saying he was anti-drug, he never did the drugs, and then not say anything about the victims? If he's convicted of it, there's a rape trial. Would you do any of those things?
Well, didn't he write the letters prior to the conviction?
No, he was convicted, but he wasn't sentenced yet.
So he was convicted. So the letters were written to weigh out the sentencing.
Yes.
Okay. Kind of like as a character, arguments in favor of Danny Masterson, hopefully to alleviate the sentencing. Because he was already found guilty, right?
Right.
Okay, so it wasn't written before the guilty verdict was placed.
Right. So he's guilty. Okay. He's been convicted.
More important than anything you were talking about, I'm back.
Yay, Aaron's back.
So yeah, this is all that David has said. There's a lot.
Okay.
I'll have to listen to it. There's an hour of
I'll listen.
A podcast that you missed.
I know.
And I got a little more. Here, let's read. Go ahead and read that statement on the board. Go ahead.
Scientology has also won a few cases, such as the court case by the Headleys. They, however, had to pay a lot of money to Wollersheim, Deb Cook, and Laura Descrescenzo.
Yes, that's true, Trevinon. Because I said they haven't. Nobody's won a case this big against the Church of Scientology. That's true. There are other cases that people have won, but you've never heard of those, right? Not at this level. This is worldwide news. The Danny Masterson thing, everybody knew about it. It was on every.
So here's my question about this, because it sounds like, having seen previous shows about Scientology and read different articles over the years about these cases that have popped up and then get shut down. What is different about this case, or what is different about this era where it sounds like they're losing more cases? Is it because of the internet and social media and the fact that more people can communicate and then stories can be corroborated between each other? Or was there just so much overwhelming evidence against Danny Masterson, regardless of that he was a surefire takedown? Because it wasn't the first case thrown out, or the first attempt at this trial thrown out?
No, it was a hung jury.
Hung jury, okay.
Yeah. And things changed. They weren't allowed to present certain evidence. Everything you said is true. Leah Remini, putting pressure on coming out and having her show and having it being success. Tony Ortega reporting on it. Because people were afraid of Scientology, but the more that people came out, they saw that Scientology's bark is a lot bigger than its bite. Like they can't, if you tell the truth and if you remain within the law, they can't actually do anything except for
ruin your life and turn your family against you. And
well, I mean, no. That's if you're a Scientologist. But like, if you guys, all they could do to you guys is send private investigators to watch your house. That's all they can do. And they're not going to do it. They can't afford to send private with all the people they have watched now. They have so many people being watched right now. They can't send them to you guys are in Boston now. They can't send people to Boston to watch your house 24 hours a day.
Oh, yeah. We're in Boston.
And I'm in Seal Beach. They're not going to send anybody to Seal Beach to watch my house. CB Actor Traveler's here. Yay! I worked on a couple of shows at the CBS Radford lot. Were you raped by Danny Masterson? That's a bad joke. That's a bad joke, Aaron.
Is that a Scientology?
No.
Lot?
CB Actor Traveler. Well, that's where that 70s show was filmed and stuff.
David told us that not only did Danny Masterson and Ashton Kutcher and everyone on the set throw these crazy drinking
No. Ashton and Danny threw the parties, but keep going.
Okay. So they threw these parties where there's like underage drinking, but they also had a pretty much a backroom casino room going on.
Ooh, sounds very legal.
CB Actor Traveler says where that 70s show was filmed, 1999. The male cast members were notorious for their partying and misogyny. 100% CB Actor Traveler, I agree. But my point being that Ashton Kutcher wrote a letter in support of Danny Masterson saying he's a role model. He's amazing. He never does anything wrong. And now we have CB Actor Traveler that heard about it even at the time.
Sounds like they're bros.
They're bros and they're stupid.
I mean, and I'm not saying this as a defense, just more of an analysis. They were on a very successful show. Oh, Topher Grace was not a part of the rumors. I also just saw a headline that was talking about
woman.
No, Topher was the star of the show, and he was like he had a pretty successful movie career, I think, before the other guys did anything really. So he was like the real star, but. So, and they were saying that he wouldn't hang out with those people. He like kind of, and at the time people made fun of him or like kind of questioned whether he was a good guy because he wouldn't hang out with the rest of the cast. But so you think about it, you're like in this very successful show and you're like this young dude, how that is going to go to your head and you're going to think you're the shit. But then you're in Scientology where they're even making you think you're more the shit entirely. And no one wants to question your behavior because they are like starstruck or success struck.
Here's the deal. I was around at that time and I met all these people. I met everyone on the show except for the parents and somebody else, whatever. I met the Wilder, blah, 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 and Topher Grace briefly. And I asked somebody and I heard them, they would make fun of him. Danny Masterson, he's a nerd. That you're saying that you're on this hit show and it's going to your head. Didn't go to Topher Grace's head. Like there was something civil and kind of decent about him, but it went to Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masterson's head. And at the time, you have to understand too, I'm not going to do this any justice, but other people report on this. Ashton Kutcher lied about, he was in another court case. He was dating this girl that got murdered by somebody. I don't know if you guys heard about this. And he lied to police about what he saw and what happened. So go watch Aaron Smith-Levin. He did a video on this. These guys are not reputable people. Like they're not bros that are like reputable and hey, this just happened. No, they have this culture of this shit happening. You know, Topher Grace doesn't.
Yeah.
So you can you can say that all you want, but Topher Grace was like, yeah, I don't want to be a part of this. And you could see it in his face. He wouldn't hang out and go to these stupid parties that these guys threw. All right. So why is it
I have to jump in and say we're over an hour now, which is pretty long for one of our shows. So may I suggest we do a part 2 or try to wrap up in the next 5 minutes?
We'll do a part 2.
Okay.
So we're doing a part 2
And then
right now,
I'll
but not.
take care of the non-sleepers.
Maybe I
and
can
you
actually
can actually participate.
Okay. Yes, Aaron Smith-Levin's channel is called Growing Up in Scientology, and I really recommend it. He does the heavy lifting. He has all the
Errands are always really entertaining and smart and research oriented.
Aaron's with an AA.
Oh.
CB Actor Traveler says, do you think they continue to support Danny because he has dirt on them?
Well, that's likely.
Yes. Yes. Aaron Smith-Levin, Leah Remini, a few other people have speculated on this. I personally know about some shady shit. I can't say it right now, but yeah, I do. Danny knows stuff. Danny knows a lot of shit.
Will you be able to share your dirt on part 2?
No, not this time. No, because there are ongoing cases and things, and there are things that I've heard from other people. And Aunt Josie says she's sure. So if she's sure, then and Trevenon says I recommend it too. I don't know what he recommends, but we're gonna do whatever you say, Trevenon.
Aaron's the Scientology show probably that you just talked about. Or was it? I don't know. Never mind.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So we're continuing on, and then it's just going to be cut in 2, right? That's what we're talking about. And then if you have to tag out, you tag out. Is that what we're saying?
Never mind. Don't listen to me. I just had a stroke.
Oh, Trevenon recommends
Aaron's
channel. Okay, cool.
Ooh, part 2. Part 2.
Well, we're continuing on. We'll continue. I'm just gonna barrel right through, and you guys stop me when you stop me. But I'm barreling through, and then I think when we upload it, we're gonna.
No, everybody wants a part 2.
Yeah, we're gonna have to stop. We'll come back. We'll do another live show.
Multiple votes for a part 2.
When are we gonna do the other live show?
Who knows?
It won't be this week, but after.
Do you guys still care about it in more than a week? What do we do?
I have missed the entire episode. I missed the whole episode. So.
She needs to get caught up, and we'll have questions, and people can send us questions.
Trevenon wants parts 3 through 6.
We could do that.
And Hooligan Mama says we should also do a show on Aaron's Halloween show location and all that weird things that she's experiencing there in Boston, where she lives now.
Sounds like it's a lot of like interpersonal drama, like Scientologists have.
Yeah, Halloween's
all right. All right, here. This is what we're gonna do. Then we can do a part 2 because I have a lot more stuff, and I have the yearbook to go through and talk about all the shit that happened on that night. Here. So CB Actor Traveler, if you're there, do you have any more questions? Anybody have any more questions? That's what we'll do. We'll take questions for a few minutes. And then we'll come back and do a part 2 if you guys still want to hear it. Did I say anything interesting? Did I give you guys any facts that were interesting?
You gave a picture of what Scientology is like interpersonally and as a culture, the culture of Scientology that these people were living in, and kind of a look into what Danny Masterson's way of being was within that group and those around him were like. So yeah. And you talked about Jane Doe and kind of her experience and kind of give a before and a little after picture.
That sounds like a good podcast. I can't wait to listen.
So yeah, do you want to pop any questions in for now, or we can?
Nobody's asking any questions. Why aren't you people asking questions?
Next one.
We could also take votes as to when we should live stream again.
Take votes?
I don't know.
I would agree with Nathan. Yes. Hooligan Mom says I agree with Nathan. Yes, and inside terrifying look. I forgot what you said, so I don't even know. Did you just say something? What? CB Actor Traveler, where'd you go? Don't you have any questions? He always has questions. Do you guys have any questions about Jane Doe or Danny Masterson or any of the people surrounding it?
At this time, I do not.
After she listens to the podcast.
Do you, Nathan? Did I answer all your questions? Do you have any?
Let me think if I have any questions that would help wrap this up. how about you just give us a quick like, here's some points that we're going to cover in the next episode.
Ooh, a teaser. I like
Yeah,
that.
a little
That's
teaser.
great.
Nothing in depth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bullet point.
We're going to be talking more about the haven for predators. We're going to be talking about the why and how people react interpersonally and the things I've actually heard people say within.
Ooh, so we got real life quotes.
We're going to be talking about Leah von Remini. I have a little bit of behind the stories about Leah von Remini that we will be talking about. And then I'm going to go through the letters of the supporters, the fucking Scientologists I knew. And then I have a warning for all you parents out there. What do you think about that?
I think that sounds like a juicy part 2. I'm looking forward to that.
Sure.
Will it still be a topic?
As long as we don't do it 6 months from now.
Nobody's asking questions. Nobody has any questions. Trevinon, you don't have any questions about Danny Masterson or here we have a question. We have a question.
Listeners.
I want David to do a live where you can deliver all your info and insights and then maybe a follow-up with the others taped with their reactions. Wait, what? Did I?
So
wait, didn't I just did? Oh wait, go ahead. Yeah.
If I'm hearing that correctly, he wants you to do a live broadcast where you just lay it all out. And then we come in for a second show where we react.
I thought I did. I thought I did lay it out. Do you want more laid out? CB Actor Travel, like what more do you want laid out? Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, it's easier for scheduling with mom and dad.
Thanks, CB Actor Traveler.
Looking out for
Trevinon says, I follow the Masterson news on the SPTV channels. Okay, cool. I guess I didn't give any insights or anything else that anybody else wanted, so I guess there was no reason to do this.
David,
I was trying to think of...
Thank you for your profound insights into this world, which is crazy.
I don't think I had any, Aaron. I think you're speaking too soon. I don't think I gave
any. Maybe your explanations were so comprehensive that people just don't have questions.
I think that's probably what it is.
Because the way you could deliver the information is a little bit more like storytelling. So you were telling us a story. You know?
That's the only way I knew how to do it. Yeah.
I think we should wrap up with confidence, because right now it sounds like we're like, oh, wait, people aren't approving of our episode. But I think we should be like, yeah, we did it. We did a great episode.
Oh, wow. Trevinon says he found this live stream by searching Scientology on YouTube. So Trevinon, you have never been involved in Scientology? You were never in it? Anyway. All right. And we want to thank you all for coming to listen to us. And maybe I'll think of more. I'll go through my yearbook of the night we all spent together and I'll come up with more. Oh, Trevinon was never in. And I'll come up with more inside juicy stories about, I can tell you juicy stories about, oh God.
You already covered what we're going to cover, so we're good.
Okay. It's really weird because talking about this, there are some things like I can't tell too, if that makes any sense. There's things I can't say. Anyway.
We'll not say them on our next episode.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Okay.
It's fun to be live again, I imagine. So it looked like
okay. Have a great Sunday, everyone. Great job, David. Can't wait to hear more. Okay. All right. Thanks, you guys. Have a good one. And wait, Trevinon, one more thing. Don't say anything that gets you in trouble. Thank you, Trevinon. I won't.
Good looking out.
Good looking out for us. Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm the producer, so anything wrong with the show has to do with me. Oh God, this is so hard. Beat it, bitch.